In this training, we are going to go through a very powerful exercise for shifting your focus from scarcity to abundance, from problem to solution. And we are doing this using the law of polarity. Now, the law of polarity is a universal law. It is not a man-made law. This is a universal law that applies to everyone and everything. We see it all over the place. You cannot have one side of anything without the other side also existing. You cannot have hot if there is no cold. And we know that there is a spectrum. So hot is somewhat subjective. You want a certain temperature for your water when you are bathing. And what is hot when you're taking a bath might be different than hot when you are drinking some water. So there is a vibrational spectrum. And what we have to remember here is that everything has this vibrational spectrum. So if you have a problem, by law, there must be a solution. Now, the solution could be a simple solution, like I have some relief from this extreme pain that is on one end of that vibrational spectrum of solution, to you could manifest something that is a radically different circumstance, which completely transforms your life. That's a different degree of the solution, you could say. Now, as it relates to money, because this is what we're ultimately talking about here in the Money Mindset Intensive, you have been focusing on the lower end of the vibrational spectrum. You're focusing on a lack of money. And what you have to remember is that spectrum can go down almost infinitely. We would call that debt, perhaps, okay? So the debt can grow. There's no limit, right? It's infinite. It can just keep getting, you can keep accumulating greater and greater and greater debt. Well, on the other end of the vibrational spectrum, having $1 is better than having debt. It is on the upper half of that vibrational spectrum, the polarity spectrum, but ultimately we want to go higher, right? So the amount of money that someone could have could be infinite as well. Now, maybe 100 years ago, the thought of infinite money would be mind-boggling, could not be accepted. And yet here today, we see people who are literally worth multiple billions of dollars. And so we begin to recognize that this really is an infinite spectrum. Now, our goal is not to set unrealistic goals for ourselves. And what I mean by unrealistic is something that it's not even what we want, right? We're just trying to prove something, or we're trying to overcompensate for something. A genuine goal, an achievable goal, is something that we really, truly desire. That's why oftentimes I'm talking about our true heart's desires. When you have a superficial goal, anything can be an excuse to stop taking action. Anything can be an excuse to say it didn't work, it's not meant to be, because it's not a genuine goal. There isn't that true driving inner motivating factor. But now, if you're in a situation where you want to create more money in your life, you can probably feel that there is a true heart's desire for greater abundance, greater prosperity. You may have a very specific goal. You may say, I want to be generating $100,000 or more a month, each and every month in my business. That could feel like a very aligned, real, true, authentic, heartfelt goal. The problem is when you are focused on your current circumstances, you are in a state of lack. You are focusing on the lower half of that vibrational spectrum. Now, I'm going to refer to it as lower half. Again, this is all subjective because if it's infinite, well, for some person, having $100,000 in the bank could feel horrible if they are used to having $1 million in the bank. And so for them, that could feel like the lower end of the vibrational spectrum. For another person, that same $100,000 would make them feel like they're rich. And so keeping in mind that this is very, very subjective. What I want you to look at here on this screen is a very rough diagram that I've created that I want you to replicate on paper for yourself. What we have here is a line that represents the the spectrum of polarity. And this little intersecting line is just to show us that there's a distinct difference between when we're on the upper end of the vibrational spectrum in our abundance, focusing on our goals, focusing on what we want, versus when we are on the lower end of the vibrational spectrum and we're focusing on lack, not having, scarcity, our current circumstances, and how we can't figure out how we're going to change our reality. So here I have a little plus symbol that's just representing that we are on the upper end of the vibrational spectrum. Here I have a little minus symbol that is demonstrating that we are focusing on the lower end of the vibrational spectrum. So think of it as lack versus abundance, or having versus not having, however you want to look at it. Now, what we want to do is we want to be focused on our goals, our authentic desires. So up in this quadrant here, where we are in our vibrational spectrum of abundance, I want you to write down your goals. Again, this could be very specific, like a certain dollar amount that you want to have. It could be a more general statement, a specific goal, maybe not a dollar amount, but a specific goal that you have for your business. It could be more general in the sense where it is a state of being that you want to embody, like feeling financially secure. But get as clear as you possibly can, remembering that the more specific you are, the more there is actually energy flowing. That's the power of specificity of goals. The problem is when you're not aligned with those goals, it'll feel like you are being drugged behind a speeding bus. So in that case, you want to be a little bit more general about your statements. So when you have your goals written down here, then you are actually going to cover up this bottom half. Okay, so you cover it up with a different sheet of paper. We want to see the visual representation of us only focusing on what we want. It's a powerful reminder to the subconscious mind. We are focusing on what we want, not on the lack of it. This is a very powerful mindset exercise. Now, I put down here something that I heard recently, and I love it, absolutely love it. It says, circumstances don't matter. Only my state of being matters. Now, this is a powerful principle. If you understand how the law of attraction works, then you know that whatever you are a vibrational match to is what you're going to create more of in your life. We get fixated on circumstances. What we have to remember is circumstances are not inherently good or bad. It's the meaning that we make out of the circumstance. And oftentimes we will make negative meaning out of random circumstances that really do not necessarily mean that our reality is bad, or we've done anything wrong, or we're not going to be able to get what we want. the mind jumps to these sort of conclusions, these negative conclusions. So we have to remind ourselves the circumstances are illusions. Are they real? Yes, maybe it really did happen, but it's an illusion as far as what is possible in terms of the manifestation. There is often a time lag, meaning when you get yourself into a really great state and you are truly aligned with your goal, what oftentimes will happen is you don't see an instant manifestation and then you get discouraged. What you have to remember is there oftentimes is a time lag, and you may see the remnants of your old reality, the remnants of your old vibration. You have to remind yourself circumstances do not matter. Only my state of being matters. Your state of being is what attracts to you thoughts, feelings, actions, circumstances, the different manifestations that you desire. So, you can write that in that lower quadrant to remind yourself, but it's probably going to be covered up anyway. But this is just a reminder to not trip over what you see with your senses. We've all had experiences where it looked like something wasn't going to happen and then it did. Okay. Circumstances don't matter. Only my state of being matters. My state of being is what is the magnet, right? That my state of being is the magnet that is magnetizing to me. And so when you are focused on your goal and it feels good, you are a vibrational match to that. So this exercise is working obviously in a very law-based way. We understand the law of polarity. Didn't go into it in a lot of detail. Not going to go into it in a whole lot more detail in this exercise. But what I want you to remember is when you're focusing on that upper end of the vibrational spectrum, okay, lack is attached to abundance, right? Don't focus on the lack, focus on the abundance. They're two parts of the same thing, okay? They're just two different vantage points of the same vibration. So focusing on what you want, make it your state of being. Your state of being is what you think and what you feel, okay? I'm going to wrap up this little exercise, play around with it, let it be an opportunity for you to clarify your goals. Let it be an opportunity for you to acknowledge where you've been focusing. Let it be an exercise that feels empowering. Cover up that bottom end of the spectrum so that all you see physically with your eyes is that upper end of the spectrum. And I will see you in another video.